Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast, episode 828. We talk about Batman, Green Arrow, and the Question Arcadia.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, Dr. Norge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we're going to talk about issue 1 and 2 of the Black Label series, Batman, Green Arrow, The Question Arcadia. We are sponsored as always by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Jim, what's going on over at DCBService.com?
Well, we have Batman Bad Seed Gotham Central special, issue 1 of 2. 38% off, only $3.09. We have Batman Superman Weird Al World's Weirdest One Shot. Yes, a comic book starring Weird Al and Mitzel Picklick. So I'm like, amen. 38% off, only $3.71.
Who's a creative on that? Does it say? I'm insanely curious.
Mark Waid is the writer.
Yeah, I'm all in. Sorry, I did not mean to derail you, but it was. I'm intrigued by. I'm obviously, you guys know what I'm ordering.
And also, there's a Batman Golden Age Omnibus Volume 4 hardcover, 38% off, only $62. And Batman Silver Age Omnibus hardcover Volume 2, 48% off, only $52. So thank you, DCBS.
And those omnibuses are re-releases that are coming out. I saw that they're starting to re-release these omnibuses that they released before with new versions. If you've tried to seek them out, they're very, very costly if you try to find them on eBay and things like that. You may want the original version, but these are brand new releases of the full-blown omnibus that they released before. I'm glad DC's doing a really good job of keeping their books in print so they're available for people to access them, because these omnibuses are classic stories, and a lot of these, it's the only way to be able to get them in some form of affordable fashion. So super cool. Over at InStockTrades.com, DC Finest Suicide Squad, The Nightshade Odyssey trade paperback. This collects Suicide Squad 11 to 20, Suicide Squad Annual Number 1, Checkmate 1 and 8, Deadshot 1 through 4, The Doom Patrol and Suicide Squad Special Number 1, Flash Number 12, Justice League International Number 13, Manhunter 1 and 6, Secret Origins 28 and 37. 592 pages. $39.99 regularly, 48% off, only $20.79. I need this. I love these DC Finest books that they're putting out. I'm a huge geek for these right now. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotline, story twists, and whatnot of the comics we're discussing on today's show. So if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
A scarlet costume ejects from his ring, and in a blur of motion, police scientist Barry Allen becomes the Flash.
Jim, before we kick into the topic of this episode, I want to talk about a few things. First of all, I just did this week a guest spot on Back to the Bins podcast, and we covered, it was kind of a follow-up to our Supergirl discussion. We did Supergirl number 10 from 1974 and Action Comics 309. Little bit of a spoiler here. Action Comics 309 has a cool Phantom Zone story, an Argo City story. It is the early years of Supergirl and explores her parents. So we have a big discussion about that series, but just a shout out for everybody, Action Comics 309 and 310 are like a two-part story with Supergirl. This is back when Action Comics had multiple stories in it. So we only cover the Supergirl story. But if you're been watching the movie and wondering, how much of the movie pulled from, and Tom King's story and all of that stuff pulled from lore, this goes all the way back. And there's stuff that was in the movie that came right from classic comics. So I'd recommend listening to that episode. It's out now. There's links in the show notes for everybody. Big Supergirl conversation from two different eras, and we rate and review those particular issues. But the Action Comics 309 discussion's kind of a teaser, because you could, after that, and I jumped off and read Action Comics 310 afterwards because of the two-part story. San Diego Comic-Con, and there might be a couple episode discussion on this. There were just some things that stood out to me as cool new things with this DC Next Level. It's continuing. We're getting a Demon series by James Herron, and it looks really cool. I'm a big fan of the Demon. We're getting a Jonah, this one I'm jonesing for. It's a miniseries, Jonah Hex and the Shadows of Death. And this is by Michael Welch. The art looks, he's the writer and artist, I believe, on this. And just from the cover, it has me, it's gritty, Jonah Hexy. It's everything that I want from Jonah Hex. We're getting a new Static series written by Cody Ziegler. And I'm a big fan of Static, so a good one to bring in. Vixen is coming as an ongoing written by Stephanie Williams. Stephanie Williams has done some great work. Really into Vixen. I'm excited to see that be a series. Again, Next Level continuing to expand. I like that they're doing this in phases. Instead of putting out 20 titles at a time, let's do some miniseries, let's do some ongoings in chunks. Let these things breathe, give people a chance to digest them, and see what sticks. Batman Shadow of the Bat is coming back from the Absolute Martian Manhunter team. Oh, so this is set, in the main DCU. I love that team. I love that visual look. So it's the writer and the artist is coming over for this. So it is going to be that team doing Shadow of the Bat. I love that. I'm ready for more Batman. Yes. Yeah. I'm really in that place right now because all the Batman's been so good. That's kind of the thing when people talk about, are we getting too many titles with a singular character? Not if they're good.
Shadow of the Bat.
Yeah.
When Shadow of the Bat came out, that was when I first started reading DC. Mm-hmm. And I jumped on that one because it was an issue 1.
Okay.
And I was like, this is a new book. And my buddy Joe, I mentioned Hoach multiple times on the show. His nickname's Hoach, for those who don't know. His real name is Joe. But he was a long time DC reader, and he used to let me borrow comics and I'd read them, that's cool, but I was always a Marvel guy. And he's the one who introduced me to John Stewart, Mosaic, the Green Lantern Mosaic. And he also said, hey, you may like this Batman because it's a good, solid Batman story, but it's not tied to the regular universe, all that. Mike, let me jump on that. And that was, so to hear Shadow of the Bat is back, I'm very happy with that. I'm jumping on that bad boy. And the Vixen announcement, dude, that is awesome. Vixen's a really cool character that if you put her in the right hands, we could get a solid, just one of those stories out there that has those great hero moments, but also has those great character moments. Because she's somebody who can be very meaty and deep. You can have some really cool moments.
There was a Lanterns panel that was there, and on Instagram, you can find it right now. They have them doing the oath, and Nathan Fillion joined them as well. Guy Gardner. I mean, so it was all three of them up there. It is a comic book geek out when you see the three actors playing, our three main GLs being up there on stage. I just think it's cool. I'm jonesing for that series. I'm really hoping that it's going to be good. The more I'm seeing trailer wise, and I'm trying to stay spoilery from it, free from spoilers, but the trailers have been pretty good so far in not giving away too much. I'm really excited for this one, and I'm hoping it delivers. On paper, it looks really good. The acting talent looks real good. I'm ready for, I'm very comic book happy right now, and I'm very comic book tie-in, the films and things like that have been good. The stuff that's been coming out, I think we're kind of hitting this next phase. And the stuff people are, if anybody's crabby about anything right now, I disagree with them immensely. Supergirl's a great example of that. Supergirl was a great movie. I really enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to owning it and being able to watch it again and again. I think the problem right now is we're setting the bar so high that like everything has to be Superman. Everything has to be Avengers Endgame. It's nice to have some movies that are just popcorn flicks, like really good, enjoyable superhero movies. And Supergirl falls into that category for me. The more I've digested it, because I've seen it now more than once. And after seeing it more than once, I'm like, okay, where does it fall for me? And it's really great popcorn flick.
That's awesome.
And that's what I'm enjoying with it. September 19th is Batman Day. I don't know if you've heard about the comic book that's coming out that day, and I think it's only coming to comic shops. So you have to actually go grab this in the shops. It's called Batman of Two Worlds. Have you heard about this?
No, I have not.
So it's both creative teams of Absolute Batman and Batman telling a story with a similar villain concept, but it's how their Batman would resolve it.
Oh, nice. Oh, that sounds awesome.
So there's some tie to it. I'm honestly, when it sounds like I'm giving a very generic answer as far as what it is, I'm trying to stay spoilery from it because I just want to read it and digest it and enjoy it. They've got me at the two creative teams of these books that I'm loving right now.
Yeah.
Those are two of my favorite titles right now across comics, and they're just killing it every month. The fact that they're doing a mashup together like this, so it looks like it's supposed to be two stories, but they're supposed to have a very similar connection to them. So it really is going to spotlight how, yes, these are both Bruce Wayne, but they're very different. And I love that. I love the idea of embracing that concept. So I thought that was really cool. Besides, there was something else. Oh, All-In Saga, Darkseid versus the World is coming. So there is a big All-In Darkseid story coming that's supposed to be mashing, like it's going to be a battle with the two universes. Like this is supposed to be not one universe or the other, Absolute and the regular DC universe. And I'm excited about that. Did you read the Absolute Batman Arkham special?
Not yet.
Okay, it's great. Read it. Yeah. And then prepare yourself for Absolute Batman Beyond Arkham, which is Frank Thierry, Scott Snyder, Francesco Francavilla on it. The first one was great. I've all caught up on everything all in right now, and this special is one. Don't sleep on it, because if you're a fan of the Absolute Batman universe and you missed Arkham, it expands the universe. It expands the world of Batman by really explaining what the concept of Arkham is there. It's called Arkham, and there's a reason for that. It's all story driven. You really should read it because this is world building, lore building, and I'm sure Beyond Arkham is just going to build on that. So I definitely recommend boning up on Arkham before reading that one. But I was excited for more. So that stuff was really exciting to me, spinning out of the San Diego Comic-Con. I'm sure I'm missing stuff, and I will do a follow-up along the way. A lot of this stuff I got from our Facebook group community, so I want to thank everyone out there that's been posting along the way. Some of it I got from Instagram, especially the Lanterns piece where they were doing the thing. Outside of DC, there were some cool things that I saw too, and there's more to see. I liked at the Avengers panel. I'm sorry, the Avengers Doomsday panel, because there was more than the Avengers there. In the audience was a person dressed up as a gray Deadpool. It actually was Ryan Reynolds. And there's multiple people who got cosplay shots with him on the con floor that I don't think knew it was him.
Dude, I love when he does stuff like that.
I do too.
He's one of those guys. He's one of those guys that seems like he is an absolute awesome person to hang out with. And I hope that's not just acting. I hope he actually is such a cool guy as he seems to be. He seems to get the comic book fan because he seems like he is one. And I think that is one of the best things about him. And I hope to God the illusion never gets broken, and because I've never heard anyone say, oh no, he's really a jerk in real life. I've never heard that, and I hope I continue to never hear that.
I think that his journey with comic book films has been so interesting, because the Green Lantern film, which by the way I like the director's cut, I feel like when you see the director's cut, it's a better movie than it was given credit for. But certainly it did not deliver what we were all hoping for, in the sense that this big launch to a Green Lantern universe on the big screen. We haven't gotten that yet out of Green Lantern, and I like him, and I liked him quite a bit in the film. So the fact that film didn't lead to that always bothered me, because I felt like I wanted to see more of his Hal Jordan. Then he was that crazy version of Deadpool in that Wolverine movie, and I love the Wolverine movies, but those were the first were not perfect. Then Wolverine got better along the way. I feel the Wolverine movies are an example where the sequels got better, like significantly better along the way, because
that statement.
Yeah, they got more true to the comics, and I thought that was really great. I would say the X universe in general, too. I think along the way, they got closer and closer. So I'm kind of hoping we're supposed to be getting an Uncanny X-Men movie down the road. And yes, please, because we're finally starting to understand it, which I think is cool. But his initial version of Deadpool in there, the one with the sewed shut mouth and things like that, just did not work. I enjoyed that movie for what it was. I really did. I'm going to say I enjoyed the movie, but I kept wishing there were certain choices they did not make.
Yeah, I know. Again, the original version of Deadpool, before the ending when they ruined the character, I liked his portrayal of that because he wasn't Deadpool yet. He was still Wade, and he had the smart mouth and this and that, and they I liked that version that they did, and that's and again, you can see that version get transferred over to the Deadpool movies, and just that personality, and that's why I liked it, because I was like, oh, that's Deadpool. He's got the personality now, and then they ruin it in the end. Yeah,
that was really. And I similarly, I'll flip back over the Green Lantern movie. There were certain choices with that I wish they hadn't made, and I thought the director's cut improved upon what was there, but it's still in retrospect, there were some things there that I thought were very solid that I wish we could have built off of. The Wolverine movie is the same thing. Fortunately for the Wolverine movies, they got a chance to keep building off of that and get better along the way. I feel like that would have happened with Green Lantern. Sometimes I think we're our own worst enemies, in the sense that, I don't know, if you think a movie's terrible, you should think a movie's terrible, by the way. I want to be very, very clear off of that. You're okay to do that. But some point in time, we're like, it was an enjoyable movie. Some point in time, we need to embrace that too and tell people, go see it. It was an enjoyable movie. And not perfect, but enjoyable. I don't know. There's a lot of movies I really like that I know aren't perfect, but I enjoyed them. And I think we need to point people to movies, especially in this day and age of multiplexes. Point people to movies that were good movies. I think there's some Marvel movies that were trashed that did not deserve to be. And the Marvels being one of them. I thought this might be a hot take, or people might completely disagree with me, that I thought the Marvels was better than Captain Marvel. And yet Captain Marvel did much better. I thought it was, I thought the buddy cop. Did you ever see the Marvels?
I have never seen Captain Marvel or the Marvels. I'll be honest. I've never seen either movie.
Yeah. So I would say if you see Captain Marvel, I enjoyed Captain Marvel, but I really liked the Marvels. So it's up the scale. The Marvels was more buddy cop with the multiple characters that were in it. And I really enjoyed it. So it's worth seeing, I think. More the Marvels it's a good popcorn flick. So if you're Sunday afternoon, I got nothing to do, The Marvels is not a bad movie to watch. And you don't need to have watched Captain Marvel to watch The Marvels. It's a contained story.
Cool.
Anyway, let's jump into Batman Green Arrow, The Question Arcadia. And the reason I wanted to hit this one is it's one of those Black Label series, and while it's definitely grabbing from our main universe as far as inspired by, it feels like a very contained series that does not have to be beholden to those rules. But Gabriel Hardman is the writer, artist, and cover. Romulo Fajardo Jr. is the colorist. Simon Boland on letters. Dennis Cohen, Bill Sienkiewicz, and Kevin Nolan are on the variant covers. Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger. And this is a 4-book prestige format series. And we're going to do the first 2 issues on this episode and wrap it up with the second 2 issues. Reason why I want to do this, and this is purely selfish on my part, and it's just you have to look at that cover and know why, these are three characters that are really being pulled from an era that I just inspired by an era I just love. I would say the Longbow Hunters version of Ollie Queen is very present here. The Question, the Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cohen version of The Question, and that era's Batman. I mean, and I just love the three of them together. This is totally them grabbing from, it feels like they're grabbing from an era. It does not feel like it's time, like this is set current. It feels like, the story is very contemporary. I feel like they grabbed these characters out of time and plopped them into this story. And I love the edge of it. I love these characters. I'm a big fan of The Question. If you've never read that, it's available completely in 2 omnibuses now, and it is an amazing series that still holds up. I'm doing a reread right now, and is it like I thought I remembered how good it was? It's better than I thought it was. But this is great because it does take The Question and put him into today. So he was a local reporter, boots on the ground, getting into stories that, uncovering the truth, asking the questions that, people dared not to ask, trying to find the answers. And I loved that about The Question. This is a version of The Question where time has moved on. Local television stations and the way that he used to report, what Vic was doing with the information he would find and getting it out on the news media is not a vehicle for him anymore. He still believes the same things, though. So it's, what does The Question do now when that's moved on? I love when comics address this. And I feel like the artwork on this, the storytelling on this, lettering deserves major kudos, because you got 3 characters who are getting a lot of dialogue from. And I love the way fonts change and lettering changes that not only identifies who we're talking to, but tonally identifies how they're talking. When I'm looking at Vic's narrative there, oh my gosh, does it look good? And lettering, a lot of times, kudos to letterers out there, by the way. I've never dismissive of you, but sometimes your job is to just immerse us into the art and the story and things like that. Other times like this, it needs to be more aggressive. And it makes me appreciate more what letterers do when I don't recognize it as much. And they're just doing their job and doing it really well. And that's why it's not standing out in my face. This is an example of, oh my gosh, letterers are really so important to comics and what they do. Whether it's subtle or it's in your face like this, they really are good. This stood out to me with lettering, which is not, it doesn't always happen. And I think that's just because they're darn good.
Because sometimes, the lettering, you've got to be out, and you don't want them taking away from the other art, the other artistry on the page. And sometimes that lettering needs to stand out and amplify the art.
Right.
It's the letterers, are more part of, in my head, I've got like different teams. I've got the writing team, I've got the art team, and I've got the editorial team. With the lettering, the letters, a lot of time people will think they're editing and or writing side of it. Like, no, that's the art side. They're part of the art team on a book, and just like, the pencil, inks, colors, letters, those are your art team. That's what you need to make sure to get things through. And how is it going to pop out? Is it going to be minimized? Is there going to be a different color, different font? They've got to do a lot of different stuff with that. And I really, and as you're saying, I do appreciate 100% right along with you on how this lettering team actually changed things up. When they needed to. There are some times when they needed to make it pop. Sometimes they needed to make it subdued. They needed to change around some of the coloring used. They needed to tweak it based on...
Simon Bowland, by the way, is the letterer. So let's, just to be clear who we're talking about here. It's and absolutely deserves credit for this, just because I think it's really well done. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off on that. I just wanted to clarify again who we're talking about. Just because you and I don't talk about lettering all that much, and it's never meant to be dismissive or an insult. This is just, I think, a time to let's talk about that, because I think it's cool in this one. It's different.
Yes. Oh, definitely. And again, going along just, with the art team, again, it's interesting, with me and like the creative. I usually save my creative read through on my art read through. For some odd reason, I just dive into it. With the first read through is I just dive in. I don't actually focus too much on the art, on the actual creative page, and again, it was funny because I didn't realize that we had writer, artist, and cover all one person until after I did my read through. I'm like, oh, okay. So it was kind of neat. One, he did a brilliant job with matching up story and artwork. Obviously it's him, but again, the colorists and the letterers, you got to throw them out, throw them with there on that art team, because the three of them did a brilliant job working together on this. We've got some great tones with, Vic, even the tones that shift when Bat makes his appearance. Then later on, when you got Arrow, they did, again, this was a really good team effort on our art team, on the writing team, on just everybody getting together saying, hey, we're going to create something special here. And this is 100% something special.
It's atmospheric, so atmospheric. The first page is very atmospheric building. When you finally see Vic stepping out of the car for the first time, the sky, look at the sky and the tones of the sky. There's a storm going on, and you see like the storm going on, the rain effect on the ground. You actually see the rain pelting the ground and what it looks like. I just love the look of Vic, everything about the art. There is something, I'm always impressed when artists and art teams are able to convey effects and make things feel like they're really happening. You're seeing the rain bounce off of his shoulders and his coat. This is just, those effects are just amazing to me and makes this feel like it's happening. It's happening in real time. There's motion here that because of the way that the artwork is so well handled.
And with that rain effect you're talking about, one of the things on that big splash page when we first see the question, I can 100%. A lot of people will do that kind of stuff. Keep flipping through the book. They continue that effect going.
Oh, yeah.
That to me is signs of brilliant artwork. That the first page, that's awesome. That looks great. If that was the only page we got that artifact, I'm like, oh, that'd be perfect. But then you look on later on, no, all the other pages, they continue on that effect off the ground, off his shoulder, off his arm. And that for me is like, oh, that is awesome. That right there, that tells me, okay, and again, we got an art team that's on point here.
Black Label has become the home of these prestige stories. And it's not always one thing. Like a Black Label story can appear in various different formats. But one of the things I like about it is more often than not with Black Label, the idea behind it is these unique stories where writers and artists are able to tell the kind of story that they want to tell, like Unshackled. It can be it can be very in continuity. It can be completely out of continuity. It can be continuity adjacent. Any mixture of that. They're also given additional. I don't know what this looks like behind the scenes, but it's pretty darn obvious when you take a look at it. They're given additional time to do things you can't do in a normally monthly title. I like these being supplemental pieces to what we read. These are the kinds of things that when they're collected, I want to give to people because it's like, hey, you looking for, because I've got a lot of friends that they're not going to be monthly readers. They're just not. It's going to be their thing, but they like comics. And I like to give them like top tier stories. This one, without hesitation, I've got two friends of mine I would give to in an instant that are not comic readers. They will not buy it on their own. But if I gave it to them, they will digest it, enjoy it, and thank me for giving it to them. Okay. And that this is one of those stories that fits into that category. Like, you can't help but page through this and not want to keep going. Yes, it's a good book.
Well, and again, one of the things with the Black Label's doing really well, like when you talk like an Elseworld story, alternate storylines, I like the ones that are dramatically different. You know, Red Rain, Gotham by Gaslight, stuff like that are dramatically different. But the ones that could be in continuity, the ones that could be adjacent, ones that are very similar to what we're currently getting, those are also some really great kind of Elseworldy stories. Black Label is doing a fabulous job with those stories that could very easily be continuity or maybe not. They're slightly out, and that's something I love about Black Label books, that we're getting some of these great stories. And this is, again, another prime example of a story that very easily could be tweaked and fit in to current continuity. This could be our current Batman, Green Arrow, and Question very easily. But that's something that I really love about Black Label.
That fence, when he's like clipping the fence and then you see the broken up fence afterwards, I love tiny details. When you see that it's not clean, it looks like, somebody did exactly what he did with clippers going through that. We're not looking to make this pretty. I'm looking to get through this fence. Stuff like that. When we talk about multiple read-throughs, I love to digest stuff like that. And I'm like, that took some time, and it creates mood, it creates atmosphere, it creates reality. I love when artists create reality in storytelling. I feel like I'm going through this infiltration with the question, which is a geek out for me. It does feel like a step-by-step infiltration. I like that we feel like we're playing along. There are certain comics that make me feel like a kid again, and it is that kind of stuff where I'm like, ooh, this is neat. Like we're infiltrating right now. What is he doing? Why is he doing this? What is the question? No, I mean, but that's what you're supposed to feel with him. I know I'm sort of making a pun at that point in time, but not really. With him, it really is uncovering. Sometimes with Vic, if you use him well, we don't always know because he's an enigma. Even in his interactions with Green Arrow that we see later, he is not always forthcoming on why he's asking things.
Yeah.
He drops the nuggets that he needs. And I think it's why also you see Ollie's like kind of annoyed to talk with him because of it. And I get why. Vic is very much a guy, like Vic is a guy, if we were friends with him right now, I feel like we'd be apologists for Vic. And we have friends like that, dude. You know what I'm talking about? So Vic is one of those guys. Everybody has them in their friendship group where you know them so well and you've grown up with them and you see like the good sides of them and the benefits they bring to the table, but you also are embarrassed and have to apologize for them quite often. Vic is that guy.
He's that friend that you've had a conversation that started, really, he's a nice guy.
Yes.
If you've ever had that conversation about a friend,
yes,
that's who we're talking about.
Yeah, and like we're in our 50s now. There are certain friends we still have to have that conversation about. There's a difference when you're young and stupid and you're having those conversations and having those conversations in your 50s. Vic is a guy you'd still be having those conversations with in your 50s. Clearly by how he's reacting right now so many years later. And I love that. I love that about the character, though, because this is an example of a writer who really understands Vic Sage and Ollie Queen and Bruce Wayne, which are all people that have those issues, but none of it's cookie cutter. They are all very much the same. They're all very much this. They have their own lanes, and I do love the fact that some of the problem they have is these two, if they started teaming up from the get-go, this would have gone completely different because of how they operate. And they're so isolationist, especially in this era that they're being pulled from. Because they're so isolationist, that's part of the problem. They aren't sharing information completely. In some cases, they're flat out disrespecting each other.
Yeah.
And you see how like they're all, and in some ways they wind up seemingly on different sides. And I love that about this story. We're really following three different converging threads throughout this. And because we can see everything all of them are doing, we start seeing the connections before they do. And I enjoy that.
Yeah. Question for you. So again, my knowledge on this question is limited. Mm-hmm. I'm more Renee Montoya question. Mm-hmm. I've read more of her stuff than the original question. I never knew his real name. I always thought it was Vic Sage was his real name. And I never knew because he's like, I was born Charles Victor Zaz. Television, they knew me as Vic Sage.
Right.
Now, isn't there a Batman villain who does the scars for every time he kills somebody that has that same last name?
It's not. You're thinking of Mr. It's not the same. It's not. But Vic.
Well, I was thinking like related.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, not in any way, shape, or form. It's not meant to be that at all. There's similarities to the last name, but it's not the same.
Oh, okay, cool.
And Vic Sage wound up being his TV name just because it sounded better on TV. So that's more often than not, you do hear of him as Vic Sage. I even refer to him as Vic because that's what he's referred to most of the time. Except I think Todd Aristotle will sometimes refer to him as that. That's actually one of the good things about this. Besides just showing these characters, they do show some of their, in the case of Batman and Vic Sage, they end up showing their supporting cast in this story in a way that makes sense. Yeah, actually, give me 1 second. Okay, just to clarify off of that, because you're asking a good question. I'm like, I don't want to just leave this as we're nebulously saying it. So Victor Zsasz, who's the villain that you're thinking of, it's Z-S-A-S-Z. That's the last name. Vic Sage is Charles Victor Charlie Zsasz. It's S-Z-A-S-Z. They're two completely different last names. Oh. So I knew they were. I just, rather than leaving a nebulous and we're doing a podcast, I'm like, let's clarify this just for the listening audience and all that, just so I'm not just pulling it. I knew that they were two different names, but if you were to ask me in a trivia contest to spell their last names, it was not happening. So I figured, let me look it up and see what that looks like, because I just want to clarify that, no, I know for sure that these are not the same two last names, but if you were to have a gun to my head right now, I would not be able to tell you the spellings. I'd lose that bet.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, but they're good characters. And Victor Sage is great because of the fact that he doesn't have superpowers. So when you see him in battles, I love how gritty it is. He's an he's got this mask that covers up and protects his identity, because you can't see any of the features and things in it. But when he fights, he has like some training, because he's done some, combat training, but he's certainly not as combat ready as Green Arrow or Batman. He tends to get hurt a lot, get beat up a lot. His fighting's ugly. He does have skills. I want to be very, very clear. And in his book and over the years, he has gotten training, but he's not like a Black Canary level combatant, if that makes any sense. And I like the fact that his stories are more true crime, gritty, where, he'll take a pipe or a wrench to the head, his face gets scarred, things like that. You see it in this. We could do a Vic Sage action figure that has battle damage spinning out of this particular thing. And I like that about the character. It's not clean. He survives a lot more than he wins, if that makes sense. Because with Vic, it's always about uncovering what's going on and using his other talents to get the truth out there and have the truth impact what's happening there. I love the fighting in this with him. Yeah. I love that it's not clean. And I actually, what I will say, one of the things that the art team did, and the writer as well, in scripting this out, is the combat for Green Arrow, the combat for Batman, the combat for Vic Sage is all unique. There's a lot of action in this, but it is very driven by who these characters are instead of making them something that they're not. And it's a better story for it. Because it's very clear when you're reading the question and you're seeing the question interact, and when you're doing the Green Arrow and when you're doing Batman. Am I right? It feels like that era of like longbow hunters. Is this
100%?
Yeah.
Dude, I completely agree with that assessment. And again, it's difficult sometimes for a creative team to make sure they're keeping the stylings to the hero. Yeah. And this, again, love how you threw that out there, and I completely agree with you. Mm-hmm. Each one has their own distinctive fighting style to them, and they stick with it. They stick with it tightly. I loved seeing, Sage, seeing Vic fight, then you go on into Batman, and you see the Bat make his appearance and actually throw a beat down on him. And it's then later when we're going to get Arrow in there, it's, with Arrow styling. So this is, again, really a creative, who knows the characters, and they know they've got to tweak it a little bit. It's kind of like when you get some really good creative handling Nightwing, Barbara Gordon, and Batman all fighting in the same book, because each one has a dramatically different fighting style, and you need to make sure you capture that. They did that here as well.
The girl who dies when Vic is having that fight with her, there's a terrorist situation that's going on, and it's something that's not a throwaway. It's important to note. She is killed before she can talk. Yeah. And there is a reason for that. And this is going to play heavily into the story. I love the way when after you've reread the issue and you know what's going on, this is setting the stage in such a cool way. This opening is leading us right into questions, and that's what should happen. And I love that he's immediately when she's been shot down, if he had not kicked the gun out of their hands, he'd be the way that she was.
Yeah.
The other piece I liked in the art was when he takes off his mask. I love the way it's like this peel off and you feel like it's really a part of his face when he pulls it off. I think it's really important to convey that with the Question mask, because why is it not like ripped off in battle so easily and things like that? It's not a common thing for the Question mask to be ripped off his face. It really is. It protects his identity in the way that it has. I just love that look. It's almost like it's sticking to his skin. You see it on that side where he's pulling it off and you see his face revealed. I just think that's a really important touch to remind us that his mask it's not like Batman's or Green Arrow's in any way, shape, or form. It's a very different animal. And I love that about it. The Gotham City sequences where we finally get to see Batman, I loved when they're like saying abort because they think Batman is just flying in now, and people often forget Batman sometimes boots on the ground when you see the Batwing already. He likes to launch himself out of his vehicles,
and I love that because it's like when you see the Bat, it's too late.
Yes.
And just again, talk about a hard entrance. He comes in, again. He is the Bat. It's based on fear. Mm-hmm. So one, the symbols already got him afraid. Two, the boot to the face really did a good job putting fear in them. I loved how this played out, especially just he drops one, drops another one, getting ready for the third one. And I love the fact that, Bruce, he's hard hits. He hits hard, he hits fast, but he's not just a bull in a china shop. He's able to recognize right away that what he's dealing with. He's not dealing with some terrorism. He's dealing with a bunch of kids. And I love the fact that in a heartbeat, Bruce can turn it off, and he's not, because he's always in control. The monster that he portrays is that. It's a portrayal. It is not, he's not completely unhinged. He needs that fear because he's going in 3-on-1. So you get them terrified, they're not going to be as good of a fighting. So he's got that style. But once he does a true threat assessment, the Bat changes. And I love that.
Yeah. What's interesting is this is also about what we're doing to our environment.
Yeah.
And it's a very real world problem. But I love that it talks about how corporations can become corrupted, how they can take advantage of that, how they can even have the right idea, what a seemingly benevolent idea, but how they go about it is so twisted. And this story is going to gradually uncover that. And I love it. It's a very grounded, real world story, even with the kids where, these kids are throwing the paint can at Batman and, they made this banner, saying, "You consume, we suffer," and they committed a crime in that scenario, but Bruce let them go. The sequence with Alfred in the Batcave is so doggone good. I'm hoping with where the continued Batman story goes that we're able to get this level of interaction in the Batcave again, because this stuff is so good to me. I love what's going on with it. Anytime we get a chance to see Alfred back in the cave and the interactions between the two of them and him acting with Bruce, he's like, I let them go. That's an innovative approach to crime fighting. I love that banner and dialogue between them. Yeah. And, they were children, they made a poor choice, but their passion interests me. And I love that he's not letting go the message that was there. Yeah. And this is an example of how you use the characters of both Batman and Bruce Wayne. And I love when Bruce embraces both sides of himself and uses them to solve a case and get involved. I like the jet-setting, Bruce Wayne, and this story is rife with all of the things I love with these characters. This is exactly what I love in my Batman right here.
Yes. Oh, completely agree with you on everything you're saying there. And I loved seeing that this Bruce is not just so, he's able to see look for other solutions.
Yeah.
And that's like, again, if you think about someone who's a true detective, who plans for everything, who's a problem solver, he should embrace alternate solutions. And I love the fact that Bruce went this way. And also I love the fact that he's looking into this possible climate sustainability thing going on that they're pitching the billionaires. I love how this is how we get Bruce into the story. Each of the heroes have their own way getting pulled into it. Vic's going through his news story. We're going to see Ali getting pulled in through Vic, and we're going to see Bruce getting started into this through this, these kids doing this environmental terrorism, whatever, children making bad choices, pulling Bruce into this. And I loved how they addressed each of the heroes and how they're getting involved in this.
Yeah, it's the idea that also being something that he dismissed before. Like, these aren't people because he doesn't clearly, one of the things I love about Batman, yes, he is a billionaire and all of that, but he does not like many of them. He looks down on them because he feels they're shallow, they're driven by self-interest and things like that. So he doesn't even trust their intentions when it's benevolent in a situation like this. And I love that this has made him, because of what happened with the kids, he's more motivated to look into it. Star City and the Green Arrow bit, I loved the shooting the coins, somebody throwing up coins in general and putting an arrow through them while they're in the air. I mean, he got 3, 6, 9 of the 10 of them straight through into the bullseye.
Yeah. I love when you get to see Ollie's skills, because It's not just, Green Arrow is one of those heroes that people are like, I could be that. I could do that. Well, right here, you're seeing why you can't. This goes beyond just the archery skills, being a good archer. He can do some phenomenal stuff, and I love that we see that side of Ollie. That we do see that. You mentioned before, longbow hunter. One, the look is definitely longbow, but also just again, longbow he didn't use as much as the specialty funny goofy arrows. It was more about his archery skills, and this guy is also more about the archery skills. We do see some exploding arrows, we do see a couple of the specialty arrows in the series, but this is more about just pure skill.
Yes. Yeah. The thing I love about Ollie is how human he is. I've always loved that about Ollie. From my childhood, back in the Satellite Era League, straight on through to here. Ollie is not about like him being this perfect character, but his passions are something that you can't ignore. I always admire people, and I think he's a great character for this day and age, right? I admire people on every side of the fence when they're passionate about something. And I feel like as a country, this is not me getting soapbox, I feel like we've lost sight of being able to dialogue and talk and try to understand people's passions and respect that they may not be yours. That's all. And you know what? That's okay. I like learning from people. I like taking the pieces that apply to me and growing with them along the way. Ollie's one of those people that you see him with his passions, and sometimes they're his undoing, because he gets really passionate. He makes mistakes along the way. He's passionate with people, makes a lot of mistakes with women.
Oh, big time.
Ollie could be a very, very rich and wealthy man. Throughout the years in the comics, Ollie's made choices sometimes for very benevolent reasons, other times because he's imploded, where he has lost fortunes. And his relationship with Queen Industries and where he's at right now, it's interesting to see him in this bar as a known entity. Oliver Queen's Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, people know. And, he's openly shooting arrows and everyone knows he's Oliver Queen, and people are poking and prodding him something fierce, and it leads him to fisticuffs in a way that...
he got sucker punched.
He did, but he should have seen it coming.
Yeah. And And it's funny because he could have tore that guy apart
Oh, yes, he could have. And I love that he didn't.
in a heartbeat, And I love how, again, the people bugging him as he's sitting there having a drink, and you get an idea that there is no more crime, but also it's the seedy, grimy clubs are now just condos. And the one guy makes a reference about, going to pretend to miss tripping over people in the streets. So the homeless population has been either eradicated or reduced, and it's, I love Ollie's opinion on this, that the city is lacking something. What's that? Soul. And again, you can't have a cleaned up utopia, and say, hey, everything's great. We've got no crime. We've got no this. We've solved this problem. We did that. And you lose something. And, in your city, you lose something in that grind. You lose something in that, sometimes you need to have that dirt. And, earlier Vic's talking about that with Hub City, how there's no industry. Everything's going away. That's the kind of stuff that we're looking at stuff like this, and you and I, we live in suburbs. We don't live in Cleveland proper, Yeah. And again, I like living in the suburbs over living, downtown. My parents grew up Cleveland proper, downtown, and it's a much different life there than in the suburbs. And, they both, my parents said, we're not raising our children in the city of Cleveland. They 100% said that was a unanimous thing on both mom and dad, that they were going to move out to the suburbs, and they picked Euclid because when, back then Euclid was the booming, it was a newer suburb, and it was just this nice, clean, and friendly, and everybody, you don't lock your doors. And as a kids, we didn't lock our doors at night. We didn't, you could, leave your stuff on your front lawn and no one would touch it, So it's one of those things that, I love seeing this side of this big city where, it's getting cleaned up, but it's losing something of its character.
It's funny you mentioned your parents and Euclid and leaving Cleveland. For your parents, leaving Cleveland is a bigger deal. And the reason why I'm saying that is your parents were people that home was home, right? So even Euclid, there came a certain point in time where your parents, as they were getting older, could have moved somewhere else, could have done something else. They chose not to. They choose to stay in their home. They could have moved to a ranch. They could have moved to something that was just a better suited home and things like that. I think my dad did the same thing. My dad looked at multiple points in time. He was going to, speaking of Cleveland, down by the Flats. And for people who know what the Flats are, it's a waterfront area that became very trendy. They built these condos there. And, my dad was at a point, my brother and I both moved out. He was doing pretty well financially. A condo on the waterfront sounded really good. He never pulled the trigger because home was home. And that's where we grew up was. Home was home. And so many of the people that have stayed there stayed for that reason. There's other people that are very, very comfortable, and it's all flavors of life, moving from time to time. I'm moving for this job. I'm moving for that job. I'm moving just because I need a change of scenery. I would like to live somewhere else, like to live somewhere warmer. I'd like to live somewhere cooler, whatever it is. I'd like to live somewhere more quiet. People are much more comfortable moving. Our parents were both from that era, or, that just particular thought process of home was home. So for your parents to pack up and leave from Cleveland and go to Euclid was a big decision for them because they were setting up roots. They were not setting up their next stopgap till the next thing they were going to. Yep. It's which is interesting. I mean, it's an interesting comparison. Actually, a lot of this fits this story because of the fact that we've got characters who very much have roots in their cities, right? Vic Sage isn't leaving Hub City. Batman isn't leaving Gotham. Ollie does leave Star City from time to time and manages to always find his way back there. Yes. Roots are set in a big piece of that. And I think that there's something you can connect with. Another piece I want to mention about Ollie before we walk away from this particular sequence, we see Ollie a lot of times where obviously, Dinah's the main girl and keeps coming back into his life. But I love that in this story you get this idea as far as why did this girl even leave with him and do a one night stand or whatever, maybe an ongoing like little fling with Ollie. Ollie's captivating, and he's interesting. If you're in a bar, like I don't have a good talking game in like bars or pubs or restaurants and things like that, as far as being able to be that person that's going to draw people in. Ollie's very opinionated, very political, very edgy, like he's a guy that you could sit there and go, he's passionate, he cares. Even though you feel like you have to apologize for him, there is also the part of him that he wears his heart on his sleeve, and you can see how somebody's like, okay, he came in, I thought he was the biggest jerk in the world, but he's got like this little bit of a handsome swagger. He's passionate about things. There's a heart there that, man, when he lets that out, and maybe he lets it out with me, you get why the girl would leave with him and be drawn to who the man is. But then when it comes to long term, I see how a girl would be sitting there looking at him and going, man, he's fun, but I don't know where this is going to go. And I love that dichotomy because I get why she's there. Doesn't change my respect for her. You get why she's drawn to him. And, so I think there's also the point of maybe the two of us is what he needs, and then it turns out quickly that no, he's a mess. And I love that about him. The humanity of Ollie makes him great. You understand the rules of his world and why people interact and fade in and out of his life the way that they do. Because you could see this girl like enjoying being with him right now, but hitting a certain point where she's like, you know what? What was cute before, I've had enough of now. And he's that guy. And this is so well written that you get all of this from a few pages of storytelling right now. We always talk about how, this is something that's been in comic history. Your best comic creators will say that every comic issue is your first time introduced to a character. If you never read an Ollie Queen story before, you knew, like, I know who Green Arrow is. This tells you who Green Arrow is. Like who he really is. And this is really well done.
Oh God, yeah. And again, I 100% agree with what you're saying. I love the little comments about, where Ollie says, like Woody Guthrie said, some people rob you with the 6-gun and some rob you with a fountain pen. And I love the crowd's reaction. Who? What? This generation didn't know what a fountain pen was and didn't know who Woody Guthrie was. I loved that little bit in there. Mm-hmm. That's a nice little nod onto, again, showing who Ollie is, showing what's currently going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And everything you said about, I can completely see how Ollie would pick up the girl. Then the next morning, she's like, I got to go, early meeting. I'll text you when I'm back in town, and she's just, she was just that fling. But then we shift into him and Vic. And I love that this was not an immediate, hey, let's get going, meet the theme. Okay, I'm in. This was a no way, leave me alone, don't talk. And Vic's like, okay, and he knows who Ollie is. He knows the kind of person that Ollie is. He's not gonna just look the other way. And I love the fact that we get this couple pages of dialogue between Ollie and Vic before Ollie's like, yeah, I'm in on this. I'll see what I can find out. I love the fact that we needed to have multiple conversations. 23 minutes later, we needed time for them to actually be on the same page here. It fits this universe. It fits these two people. These are two heroes, like you mentioned before. If these heroes just jumped in together and said, hey, let's rock and roll, and shared notes and were open and things like that, this would have been a different story. But this so fits how these characters are and who they are in this life.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that aspect of it, that not every superhero or every hero, everybody who dons a vigilante outfit and things like that are best buddies all of a sudden. And this actually takes some conversation and I love it that Ollie's like completely disinterested until he's not.
Yeah.
And I love when that point clicks, because when he looks over at Queen Industries, after the whole debate with Vic Sage that's going on, he takes one look at that and he goes, oh, hell. Because he knows he's like a fish on a hook now. He can't let this go. Because Vic hit him in places that are important to him. And this is something where he can't leave corruption or the potential of corruption, he needs to know, is this really going on or not? What is really going on? Is this something I have to intervene in? And I loved that part of the debate. These are two people that don't like each other or are annoyed about each other. I don't know. I don't even know what you want to call it. The question is, I think, a very hard person to hang with. Ollie's got his own share of issues, clearly, and I could see these two being really opposed in their philosophies along the way. But I love how he said the right things to push Ollie's button, and he's like all in. Are you familiar with Tot? I don't know what reading of the question that you've had. Aristotle, who is, for lack of a better way to say it, the Alfred for Vic Sage, and it's not a fair way to say it, because a lot of times he provides the question with some of the tools he does not have. He actually got him set up with combat training and things like that along the way too. So Todd has been like a mentor figure to him.
Yeah, I've got no real knowledge on Todd here.
Really worth reading the question series for that. I think this does a really good job of giving you everything you need to know about their working relationship. It is every bit of this. I will say it goes far deeper than that. There would be no Vic Sage the Question without Aristotle. That Aristotle could leave his life right now and Vic could carry on very easily, and it has happened before. But this is a foundational character for this, and well worth reading those omnibuses I mentioned. The question is a series you can actually pick up a lot of different ways. You can pick it up digitally. You can pick it up in individual issues. You can pick it up in trades. The reason why I reference the omnibus is they came out so recently and they're still in print. The first omnibus in particular is a great place to start because it is the original series, The Question. Denny O'Neil is amazing. Dennis Cohen on the art, amazing. This is a really, really good series. It still holds up.
I got to pick it up. I got to flat out. I got to get it, and the question, it's funny. Every time we talk about the question, I always say, man, I got to read more question. I got to read more, and again, this same series did this again. I'm like, I got to read more, I got to read who this guy really is. I want to find out about Todd. I want to find about that stuff. Because again, as I really the only question I've ever really have any experience with is Renee Montoya as the question. I saw the series where she took over the mantle from Vic and all that stuff, and all the stuff that's gone on Future. And every time she throws on the question face, I always like, I like that. Yeah.
If you read it, Vic may become your question.
Well, the same thing happened with Wally West. Yeah. All the Wally West references you made with the Johns run. I was like, that finally now Wally's my Flash, though. I still really like Barry.
Oh yeah.
So it's, and again, Impulse is my guy. So you can't throw out any of them, but I really do want to read some Vic Sage and just, dive into that.
Here's the advantage that Vic's character has over Renee. And it's the only, I love Renee. I'm a big Renee. I'm a Renee fan. Forget the question. I'm a Renee fan before, during, and every variation of what happens with
Gotham
Renee
Central.
Yeah, Renee Montoya is an amazing character. And before Gotham Central, her use in the Batman titles was absolutely amazing. She's a great character. So her foundation's very, very different. Because she really works in and out of being the question in so many ways. Whereas the advantage that Vic had is that it was a series and it's very binge readable. And when you get a long-term growth of the character along the way, there's an attachment to them in this concept that is just amazing. The idea that this is a guy who is not walking around with a bunch of money and a bunch of resources and things like that. He has to borrow money for a plane ticket.
Yeah.
And Aristotle believes enough in what he's doing. They're both driven to searching for these answers and trying to fight injustice. They're scraping by to make this work. And I love that. I just, there's something about the passion that is just really different. He and Ollie do have a lot of similarities with regards to that.
Yeah.
That you keep going, even though the fact that in doing this, all of your money is going towards this. And probably you're spending more than you're capable of sustaining. When he leaves, Todd's, got to be shaking his head going, oh, what am I doing?
How do I pay for this now?
Well, but he's involved because, this stuff's all on his computer. He's involved. He's helping. So this is his passion project as well. This is who they are and far more important to them than anything else that they do. And I love that. Belize and Bruce Wayne. I love the thought process of Bruce Wayne. Like when he brings up that he's Bruce Wayne from Gotham, he's dealing with people who are this is exactly like he's in the room with two guys that are the reason why he hates other billionaires because their whole reaction to the situation, even what they say when he leaves, where they're sitting here saying, I wonder if there will be an option with a more exclusive clientele, meaning that Bruce, they don't look at Bruce. This is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
They don't look at Bruce Wayne. Then this isn't nerfed Bruce Wayne. This is Bruce Wayne. Wayne Enterprises, the big, he's big money. These guys are like, he's not our level. We should really have better clientele. Gotham City.
Yeah.
We should really have a better class of clientele that are here. How do I get involved with them to be involved in this piece? And they're talking about this floating city. Like they want to be on this floating city, but they already want to segregate this from the lesser folk. So even Bruce Wayne is considered to them lesser folk.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that, again, they're looking at this, and Bruce breaks down how the city is meant to be different sections.
Yes.
And I love the fact they throw out there, when he says Gotham City, he's like, oh, Gotham, really? Where do you live now? Gotham City is my home. I love that notion that Bruce is like, oh, wow. Quite brave. Then you must be an expert on private security. Immediately what they're throwing out there about what Gotham is. And I'll be honest with you, yeah, Gotham's not a nice neighborhood, It's multiple times we've said it's a garbage pile. But I do love the fact that how, again, that one little panel can really show they're looking down on Bruce Wayne. Because he stays in Gotham, because he's there. They want more of the people like them who are like, hey, nicest, clean, rich neighborhoods where there's nothing to worry about. Yay. And I'm not knocking that. And I can see people why, I want to live in a clean, rich neighborhood. There's no crime. I like the fact that my little suburb, we have crime here, but it's not like an everyday occurrence where I'm dodging bullets. I like that, But there is a level of, people, the snobbery or whatever you want to call it, looking down at the other classes, looking down on the people who have to get their hands dirty for the job. I don't mind getting my hands dirty if I need to do my job. These people not only mind getting their hands dirty, they don't mind having the people who get their hands dirty around them. So it's not even just that I don't want to get my hands dirty. It's like, I don't even want them around me, but they want to get the job. They want the job done. It's as you said before, these are the kind of people why Bruce hates hanging out with billionaires.
Emil Rotha, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, is really well crafted in this, because this is another example of where rereading and knowing how he views the backers of this that he's looking for. He's seeking out Bruce Wayne because Bruce is different, and I'm sure he's having similar conversations with all of these backers, including the other two tools that were in there earlier. But he's interacting with each of them individually in ways that make sense for that particular person's particular. He's a very enigmatic and very used to getting his own way and very used to manipulating others for his goals. They are all a means to an end to what he thinks is this utopia that he's crafting. The problem is where he's got delusions of grandeur, he's really looking at him being like a king of this new society that he's almost creating and the way that he's crafting it. Yeah. I don't think it started out that way. I think it started out very benevolent, but what happens is, like anything, great power, corrupts. and I don't think this probably started out incredibly innocent, and then all of a sudden money started entering into it. And then the ability to create your own world and your own rules and your own, everything about that. And you see what it looks like. He is manipulating in his mind, manipulating Bruce here. And the funny part is some of it is working.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, Bruce always looks for a better way to serve people, to help people. If you could get a nice, again, as I said before, you can get a nice, clean, crime-free city. That's wonderful, for everybody, not just for the rich, not just for the air quotes important people. It's got to be for all people to be, for it to truly be a utopia. You have to have everybody in there. And I think Bruce sees the possibility as maybe this could be viable, especially as he mentioned, Gotham is under sea level. So Gotham's one of those cities that as we get, environmental issues with the polar caps melting, the ocean levels rising, all of the cities that are right at sea level or below sea level are risk of flooding. We currently have cities now that have to have locks and pumps and this and that to stay above, so their city doesn't flood. And when you have those 100-year storms that hit, we see the flood damage happening. Katrina showed us exactly how devastated New Orleans will get, when, if the sea levels rise too much too fast. So, I love seeing that Bruce is concerned about this, but again, he's not, like the other idiots. He's all, again, he's a good guy, and with Emil, I don't know how he started. If he started off, like you said, where he was a good guy who got corrupted, or if he was always the bad guy. I don't know that yet about him. Part of me, my gut, says he was always corrupted. But again, I can't say that for 100% certain. That's just more of a gut feeling on the guy.
I love when they're walking through, he is like appealing to Bruce, taking him to like these sanctuary areas, places where you would go for a calm walk, places where you would be comforted. And really talking through what this city will do, how this city is different than anything else that they're currently experiencing. This idea of Juno gets introduced more and more and starts to get expanded, and it's really important. There is a private army that is being developed here, and this is an example of where I've got to admit, Batman's my guy. There are certain elements of this story where I was disappointed with Batman along the way. Yeah. And I'm saying that it's a fantastic story because of that. This is where it's a little bit different. Because a lot of times it's always like Batman's in the know. Batman knows more than everybody else. Batman, does everything right. I love the stories where he doesn't. But he comes around, where once information is fully in front of him, he changes. This is an example of the first two issues of this that we're talking about is a great Batman journey, right? Whereas along the way, it's like, what are you doing? You want to shake him. And I think the same thing can be said for all three of them in this particular story. I do love seeing Ollie get thrown out of his own what used to be his own building.
Yep.
And listen, there's a restraining order on you. That was years ago. And this, after he gets thrown out, he has to go back to some of his contacts that, do you remember me from back in the day? He's using relationships with security guards.
Yeah, oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I love the fact that, thinking what court order did Ali violate? Because because earlier we talk about he got forced out of his family's business. He gets a stipend from Queen Industry, and that's all he gets out of this. After that initially happened, Ali kept going back and back and back. This is that court order doesn't just come from one occurrence. That came from multiple occurrences of Ali being Ali, either breaking into there, trying to disrupt stuff, trying to, being just, being the guy that he can be. So I love seeing the fact that he's going to stay at least 50 feet away from company property, and again, him reaching out to his associates from the olden days. You got to, do that. But the sequences with the Bat, I really love these sequences because, again, we get a customized Bat outfit. This makes more the trim line stealthy, more look to it instead of the big flowing Gotham cape that he always has. But I also like the fact that he's sitting there and he's identifying threats. He and Ollie both have identified the same threat, and they're both trying to neutralize it.
Batman's stealth suit. We have to talk about that because I love that it doesn't have a cape. There's certain, like where he's operating and the fact that he's running through a jungle with trees and things like that, the cape would be making so much noise, touching everything on the planet. I loved the visual choice of this, the functional choice of this. This is smart storytelling. It looks way cool. I'm normally a Batman cape guy. I love everything they do with the cape and all that. This was one where a writer-artist was thinking through the story he was telling and saying, oh, that wouldn't make sense. Having a cape right there, it would make him, nothing but a noise factory.
Yeah,
I loved that choice. It looks way cool. Looks really functional, and it is him from a stealth standpoint breaking in. The use of drones in this is really good, and it's one of the things where I love that it's this Green Arrow, this Batman, this Question, but current today. And we're seeing the use of modern tech and Batman riding on the drone, knowing what was going to happen with the missile. This is a great example of where story is pulling him in, where him being involved in this and seeing the attacks is making him question which side, he should be on. And you get why he's doing the things that he is right now. He is being played, for lack of a better way to put it. And I love how this is going. I get why he's where he's at this point in time. He knows that there's more to learn. So I like that he's not completely drinking the Kool-Aid. But you get why he starts off on the wrong side.
See, here's the thing. I do wonder how much of it was him being played and how much he was doing the playing. Again, I can see one side of it where, but on the other, it could be, the Bat just seeing I got a better way to get in if I go this route. Or it could be the Bat not, you think it's...
No. I'm actually going to agree with you to a certain extent. He wants to get in to get more information to fully understand, but I do think he's skewed. And if you think differently than I do, I think initially he is much more skewed to Emil's side of things than the other side because he does not know yet.
Right.
I do think that's why I said he's not completely drinking the Kool-Aid. He wants more information. He wants more access because he wants to find out what's really going on. So the man's suspicious, but I do think he's leaning, because of circumstance, he's leaning a little bit more on who is actually sabotaging this. I do think he thinks this project is a good thing and doing things for the right reasons initially without all the information. You might disagree.
Well, and again, it's one of those things where I do wonder. It's like I'm not sure how much of it is, how much. I do think Bruce is thinking there's potentially some good stuff here, and he's not 100%. I don't know if he's not 100% convinced that Emil is a good guy, or he thinks Emil's a good guy. I don't know where he lies right now, on his opinion on Emil, on what kind of person he is. If he thinks he's still a good guy or if he thinks he's just, a piece of garbage. Part of me, Lee, is, the multiple read-throughs I get through this, and I'm like thinking that he's thinking Emil's a good guy with this private army around him, and I think some of the violence, I think he's blaming on the private army, not really realizing how much control Emil has over the private army. It's like, again, I'm not 100%, but as I look at it, and every time I read this, I kind of get a different Bruce's take on it. I definitely 100%. When I first read this, I was thinking, oh, Bruce is in on the guy. He knows he's the bad guy. And then I'm reading it second through reading how they're explaining his interactions. Like, Bruce doesn't realize he's the bad guy. He thinks he's just a good guy surrounded by bad guys.
Yeah. We're seeing it the same way.
Okay.
That's what I mean by he's not fully drinking the Kool-Aid, but he's on the wrong side.
Right.
Yeah, you just said what I was saying in a much longer way.
It's funny because with me, my opinion dramatically changed. Mm-hmm. First read-through is one thing. Second read-through, it was something different. My first read-through, I 100% thought the whole time, Bruce knows this guy's the bad guy.
Right.
He's just playing the bad guy.
That's why I'm saying I'm disappointed in him now.
Right. Oh, okay.
Right. We're saying the same thing. That's what you just said, what I just said in a much longer way. No, when I say disappointed, it doesn't mean I think the Batman was totally wrong. I think he did the right thing in continuing to investigate. He never would have gotten where he was. I love that about the story. I actually, everything you just said, by the way, I had something I'm dismissing what you said. I actually like the way you explained it. We're very much on the same page of this. And I love that about the story because it's a different sort of Batman story, right? How often do we get that? It's, usually the story is that Batman is 3 steps ahead of everybody else. In this case, he hasn't gotten there yet. We're getting to see him in real time get to that point. So, we're going through a 2-issue study where Batman does not have all of that foreknowledge. Batman's trying to get the information that he needs in order to be ahead of what's going on. He's not there. It's very rare that we get to see Batman play catch-up ball. And I like seeing that in this story. He can't possibly always know everything. Even though he's got so much knowledge bank at his disposal, this is an interesting exploration to see when Batman doesn't know. And he has to discover the information along the way. And what happens when you side with the wrong person? And Emil's an enigma, right?
Yeah.
And you get why through that conversation and where they're walking, there would be something captivating. Bruce is like, okay, compared to those 2 idiots I just left, this guy, there's something to talk about here. I need to know more. I need to understand Juno. I need to understand everything that's going on here. I need to understand the Ceres that's in there. I need to understand everything that's going on here to see where I should sit. I love that aspect of this story. It's a different sort of Batman story, and that works for me because of it. So yes, you're nailing exactly where I'm at, and you're right. First read through, not that. Seeing it the second time around when you know like where this goes, it's like, Bruce, what are you doing?
And I do love the fact that we have the 2 groups, of heroes investigating the same thing. Question and Arrow know each other on the case, kind of. They're not being too forthcoming, but neither of them know Bruce is on the ground. Bruce doesn't know they're there. I love Bruce's explanation when he's initially caught. I was asked by one of your attendees to look into possible threats. 100% perfectly plausible reason for why the Bat is there. Bruce Wayne, billionaire from Gotham City, Batman, hero of Gotham City. And again, it's very plausible to think that that Bruce Wayne is funding Batman, throwing him some money. Hey, here's some money. You helped me out here with this thing. Very plausible why these two would have a connection, why the Bat would be there. I love seeing that kind of stuff, these explanations as to why Bruce Wayne and why the Batman would be there. 100%, gives him plausibility as to why that he's not Bruce Wayne. He's there because of Bruce Wayne.
The Baku, when they're in the capital city, and we've got the questions recognizing I can't go in as the question. I can't have anything on me that's going to make people think I'm the question. I can't have the cell phone. I can't have anything tracing, anything that's going to make people suspicious. I've got to look like the perfect target to infiltrate because something's going on here right now. Mm-hmm. I love danger, like the real sense of danger. We rarely get that in comics, where it's like, I'm afraid of what's going to happen to my hero here. When he's taken, and they put the bag over his face and things like that, real sense of danger there. Especially with it being that's one of the things with the Black Label stories. I'm like, where are they going with this? What are the rules here in this world? Is he safe? What are they going to do to him? And I loved that. There was something different with that. Even if I totally believe them, they're not going to kill the question. It's still, that danger was there in that moment. And I loved that we didn't really know what was going on. This was our first thing into the human trafficking portion of this whole thing. And I love that we're seeing this from different angles. This has got 3 heroes. To your point, there's 2 camps, sort of, but there is a third camp. Like Ollie and the Question are sort of working together. It's really kind of an information sharing, information gathering of convenience. Don't really like each other, but are recognizing that both are bringing something that they might need. sometimes annoyingly so. And I love that feel does not go away, at least in these initial couple issues. Batman in the field where, he has got the guns of Juno pointing against him. This is one where Emil stepping in and the way that all plays out was really good. Emil, is very intelligent.
Yeah.
And he's manipulating Batman here. You're a detective. Will you help us answer that question? Why would they work this hard to destroy a solution to the environmental crisis? I love that he's like, okay, I got him. We need you. Will you help us solve this problem? In the meantime, he already knows the answer to all of that. Playing the victim the way that he is, but doing it so subtly is absolutely brilliant. I love villains like this where there's a logic. Like, how can he pull this off? How can he do this to Batman? It works. The logic works.
Yeah. Well, and again, it's one of the things I loved how, we see that it's, the human trafficking side of it. The big question a lot of people have with human trafficking is how do they get people? How do they get these kids? And some of it's, you see through internet crime. Some of it's you find the impoverished people who have no other options. There's different ways you do it. And I loved seeing this with the question, how they get so many people who are in these vulnerable states. You're in a country, where people are coming there for jobs because of the oil industry, but there's not even enough for the local people. So now you have this influx of people who are looking for jobs who don't have an opportunity, who are desperate. They're in the country. They're not, again, even, his backup identity of Charles Jones had no ID and no passports, no nothing. He was in that country illegally, He was an American, not supposed to really be there. He had some stuff like, hey, the guy's like, I get you. Tricky spot, we'll help you out, because he's the ideal person for them to grab. He's somebody who can just disappear and not raise any red flags, and that's the kind of stuff. Those are the kind of people who a lot of times get, targeted in these human trafficking stuff. And there's a lot of people who are coming over to the U.S. through U.S. trafficking because they're in a part of the world where there's nothing for them, again, being in the U.S. is one of the greatest things. People, I don't know if everybody really realizes just how wonderful we have it here, and opportunity. Yeah, there's some garbage jobs out there, but they're out there. There are parts of the world where there's nothing.
Right.
And I mean nothing for these people to do. And it's, you're scraping by every day, maybe eating every other couple days, you go like 3 or 4 days without a meal, and there's people who are really struggling. Those are the people who are the targets for this kind of stuff. People who are desperate for a job, who need something. Hey, we got you. Next thing you know, you're, somewhere where you weren't supposed to be. And I loved how this, they took a couple pages to just really do show that. So this is, again, the bad guys in this story are doing a brilliant job on the manipulation front. Yes, to your point on what he's doing with the bat, and especially what they're doing on getting the, basically they've got slave labor going on here. And I loved just how they told the story, how they crafted this, so that all three of these heroes are now converging on the same spot, and they each got there in very different ways. And I love that.
I do love, for what was going on with Vic and Ollie, the idea that we've got, right before we wrapped up this issue, the idea that we've got both of them converging on their next steps in crossing panels, right? We got to see gradual step-by-step updates on Ollie's journey, gradual step-by-step updates on Vic's journey, all leading to Ollie's first confrontation with Batman, who is on the wrong side here. And there's no other way to say it. Batman is just on the wrong side right now.
Though I do like the ice costume, the winter costume.
I do too.
They did a good job with that. Again, it's the Batman customizes his suit.
Yes.
And we said multiple times that you can have artists do different interpretations because he customizes. And this is a neat looking, winter suit.
Looks really good on the cover of issue 2.
Oh, big time.
That confrontation with him and Ollie leaves, because it picks up, the cover of issue 2 picks right up from where and I love when covers do that. And that's the nice part about having the writer artist doing the cover as well. He knows where he was ending things. So that cover leads you right into what you want to see in those moments. Then we're jumped right into Vic, and Vic already now is working. Vic is being forced to work, recognizing like, oh my gosh, people are like being forced to work at a certain level in order to hopefully be let go. In the meantime, is there any example of anybody being let go from this place? Yeah. So the promise is, hey, if you do enough, we are going to let you go with this benevolent thing. That is never going to happen because, and that's really the truth, that can't happen. Because if they are let go, this whole thing is exposed as a human trafficking ring, and the whole illusion of what this is actually doing for a benevolent, better society is shattered. So nobody who is there can actually ever be let go.
Yeah, and again, one of the things I loved is the mentioning of how automation could do this faster.
Yes.
But they're cheaper.
Right.
This labor is 100% cheaper than what it would cost to set up an automation plant in this area. They have the technology to do automation. This would be knocked in, and it would get knocked out a lot faster. But, you go the old school because one, this is a lot cheaper. All you got to do is basically give them some food, some promises of improvement life. They're never going to have to pay this wage. You keep them alive, keep a roof over their head, keep them working, and probably, and I'll be honest with you, in situations like this, what the bad guys in the real world will do when they promise improvements is you move people from one section to another and you tell that section, hey, he earned his freedom. Now, he didn't actually earn the freedom. They're over in a different section or they were killed. But usually it's you move from one section to another. And then you tell that person, hey, we're promoting you to this other area. You work hard enough here, you'll get released. And that's how they actually, because these type of factories and situations actually do exist in the real world, just so anybody knows. Within the human trafficking side of it, there are plants like this that have this kind of labor going on. There are current scammers who, they're on a phone bank, and they're a lot of times with the information scams that you'll get called on through your texts or phones or emails, and that kind of scams that are out there. It's people who were promised a job who didn't get a job, and said we're put into this, and those are the people who are told, hey, you do this, you make X money, we'll release you. Now they're never going to release them, but they do the shifting and they change them around, giving them hope that they're going to get freedom. Plus, it also gives the people around them the hope, that they're going to have freedom. So it's funny because again, I'm reading this, completely different because of all the training I've had on human trafficking. I'm like, oh my God, this guy did. Again, kudos to the creative team on this, because again, this is real world situations. Now, it's not this extreme. I don't want anyone thinking there's anyone out there building a city out there and doing this, but it is.
Wait, for a few minutes there, you had me convinced it was you. No, it's, I actually like stuff that's grounded like this. And I do feel like, where you take something that is real and you break it into storytelling, and it has a reality to it and makes you think, makes you question, makes you understand some of what we're facing in the world through fictional storytelling. I mean, you're right. At some point in time, those things get exaggerated or adjusted in major ways for the purpose of the story that's being told and the locations that are being used and the characters that are being used. But when they're grounded like this, it makes for a grittier story because it feels real. It feels like something that could be happening and makes you want, this would make me want to watch a documentary or a series of documentaries about similar topics to just get more educated, if that makes sense. Because I don't have the background you do. So as you were explaining that, I was getting really engaged because I'm like, oh, okay. So it's actually the writer did a lot of research in order to really nail this and nail the feeling to the point of people can't escape. People can't be sharing this story. Juno's going after Ollie the way that and Batman's way of handling it. Batman is still drinking the Kool-Aid of, I need to know more about what's going on here. I feel like Emil's doing the right thing. Juno's this police force that's trying to make sure this goes forward, basically saying, stand down, I can de-escalate this. Batman's trying to de-escalate it, where Juno's like, I'm in charge here. I understand you're here to investigate. I loved some of Ollie's creative ways of getting out of that with the explosive arrows that he set up for the snowmobile.
That is awesome.
It's just so well crafted. This feels very cinematic. It feels like an action movie. And I love when Black Label stories do this because they're so tight and so contained. And you know that this is leading to a 4-issue story that's going to have a conclusion. This chapter is really, really smart in what it's doing. And I love, again, dirty. Like, this is not, Ollie has no chance to really plan this out. Things don't always go well. He, in his escape plan, not only does he make them vulnerable, but he makes himself vulnerable. With the fact that he tumbles through the ice, they tumble through the ice. That part of this works really well. The only thing saving Ollie's life, Ollie could be a goner there if Batman was not present.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the bat, that's it. Ollie's done.
Yeah.
And I liked how, again, the improvise, adapt, and overcome is one of my favorite things when you get heroes like this. The scramble, the Jackie Chan fighting style,
yes,
where you're just running, gun, scrambling. And I loved the fact that Ollie's like, should have brought more exploding arrows, but he's still able to use that grappling hook with the double grappling hook to tear up the ice to break it down. Again, great improvisation on his part. I love that. And again, I love the fact that it worked too well for him and he went under as well.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of rereading this is really critical because you start to see certain faces that appear later in the issue earlier.
Yeah.
As far as the resistance and people that were in there, working together, they are littered throughout this issue. And it's good to go back and read issue number 2 and see where all of these people are along the way and see that Vic has multiple interactions with them, not recognizing and knowing who they were at the time. Yeah. That part is really, really good. Also, him getting a lay of the land with the vents and what people are doing, with the vents. It's like, where does that vent lead? He is doing a good job in being on the inside and scoping out the location and how to get from place to place unseen. I love this. It's very well put together. This is an example of, we all dream of being superheroes. I will say right now, I love the Question. I do not want to be the Question.
Yeah, that's a hard pass on my part.
Yes, yeah. This is not my kind of superheroing. Much more and more, I'm like, Superman's got it pretty good. Even that War World stuff and things like that, I'm like, Superman's got it pretty good.
I'll tell you, I'm more like that. I'm starting to look into a snapper car position. I like that. Hang around with the superheroes, snap your fingers every so often, and you don't really have that much danger going on in your life.
They're my pals.
You're like, golly gee willikers. You're working at
yeah.
I'll stay at the Watchtower. You guys go have a fight and almost get killed.
Maybe go evil for a week or two, and everyone will forgive you. I mean, it's kind of nice. It's one of those things. Oh, Snapper, what were you thinking? Snapper Segulate. It is Batman having this confrontation with Emil because he started to realize there are holes in this. He is not being given all the information. And as is typical with Batman, he recognizes that, hey, I'm here at your request, but I'm not getting the access to data to the crew cutters. He's like, you asked me to be here. You asked me to investigate this. You're not giving me access to anything. He's starting to realize that he may be being played. This is Batman now. Now he's finally like waking up. I love how this is organic and this is getting there. And this is where I think this story really succeeds. He's like sitting there, you want me to find Saris. How am I going to do that if you're not giving me access to everything I need in order to do this? Now, when he talks to Emil, Emil's real good on this because Emil's not defensive. Emil's conversational. This is where he is twisted and brilliant because The piece where he would fall apart with Batman right now is the second that he gets defensive, it validates, Houston, we got a problem here. There's something wrong. The fact that he doesn't is what keeps this going and keeps Batman the fish on the hook for right now, of a sorts. He's finally starting to ask the question, but he's not 100% there yet because Emil's just that doggone good. How much of this do you think Emil believes?
See, I'm still questioning, how did Emil get into this? Whether he was a bad guy all along or if he was noble and then got corrupted by the power. I still question that. No, because part of me, if he was a good guy who got corrupted by the power, then I believe he thinks some of this, but if he was always the bad guy and the pretending to that it's for the good of the world is, is just a scam, then it's again, it really does show how brilliant he is.
Sometimes there are people, though, that believe the ends justify the means, really justify the means. That's more of what I'm saying. I mean, you can't set up an underground human trafficking ring and be a good guy. You just can't. I'm sorry. That's not, you're corrupted. But I do think a truly twisted person can believe that is the right thing to do for the greater good. And I guess that's the question I'm asking. Is he that guy? Again, we haven't read yet I haven't read issues 3 and 4 yet. And I did that deliberately when I thought to myself, I'm like, I had already read 1 and 2 when I suggested this for us to be something that we were going to do. And I paused there because I'm like, okay, 1 and 2 are going to be like our first episode on this. So I don't want to have foreknowledge of 3 and 4 for our conversation. So I don't know where this goes with Emil. But right now, my question is he one of those villains who genuinely believes this is the right thing to do? Or is he so corrupt that I'm going to keep manipulating everybody to give them the illusion that this is the right thing?
Yeah. And I'll tell you,
I don't know which it is.
Yeah, I'm at that same point. I don't know which one he is. Yeah, because again, some of the great arguments you have about Lex Luthor is that, sometimes Lex is like, you got to make an omelet, you got to break some eggs. Yeah. And so he's willing to sacrifice innocent people if it's for the greater good of the world. And obviously Lex thinks I should be in charge of the world because he's Lex Luthor. So it only makes sense. So he's willing to do what he does. Emil, I'm not 100% certain if he's another Lex Luthor. On one hand, I say yes, he is. And he's one of those kind of, that mindset. But on the other side, I'm not 100% certain on what he is. He's obviously the bad guy because you can't do that human trafficking ring. That alone makes you evil. That alone right there. You are now entered evil level. Now, what level of evil is he? I'm not 100% certain yet. I don't know if he's always been evil or if he was corrupted. Because there's some people who, with the right manipulation, you can get them to do bad things. Even you and I, we're both good guys, but I know for a fact that we could very easily be manipulated into doing bad stuff. And our manipulation would be basically, do this bad thing or someone you love will get tortured. Do this bad thing or these people will die. That kind of is how we would have to be manipulated.
And I've already told the police many times that I just told you I agree with you because I did not want to get roped into this scheme of yours.
I saw that one coming.
So I'm hearing you.
But seriously now, with this guy, though, again, I don't know where his motivation for his evil is. If it is just pure greed or if it is something else down the line. And I think that's one of the things that's making me really fascinated with the story because, again, he wouldn't be able to manipulate the bat if he didn't have that intelligence level. He wouldn't be able to pull off everything he's pulled off if he doesn't have, because look at how much he's accomplished. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of evil going on here, but just the amount of everything he's done through multiple cities, multiple corporations, multiple acquisitions. He's got his little private army doing a bunch of work there. There's a lot of things that he's in control of, and if he could 100% be honest and be legitimate? Could he have pulled off everything he did legitimately? I don't know. You think about just the labor practices, this, that, all the stuff that he would have to do to get to this point. I don't know if he ever could have. So on one hand, you're like, yeah, he's skipping past, he's got to bypass some bureaucratic stuff to get to this end goal, but is it worth it? The goal is wonderful. A city that, without crime, without, that's not, endangering the environment anymore. It works with the environment, has sustainable energy, so we're not killing our planet. That's wonderful. But what's the price of that? Is the price for paradise too much? And that is something I love seeing in this book, in this notion, because again, he's offering paradise. This is one of the definitions of paradise. But is the price for this paradise too much? I love this notions and this one of the things going on with this story.
It also comes to what is your concept of paradise? Is paradise for everybody? And is it paradise if you've walked over and ruined so many people to get there? And that's where really what is the price of paradise? Like when does the price become too high? And I love how smart this story is because it begs the question. You have to ask that. I'm not trying to make a pun there, but I mean, I think on a deeper level, this is sitting there saying, in my mind, nothing justifies this. The cost is too high when you have destroyed this many people, because really that's what's happening. This human trafficking ring, you've destroyed so many people along the way, you can never, that's not paradise. If your place where you're living, the new country, the new land, the new city, whatever you want to call this thing, if that is run by people that would do this in order to achieve that, what would they do to keep it going?
Yeah.
And exactly. Is that where you want to live? How have we improved our world by building it on the bones of others? I mean, it's just not, this is the age-old question. And it really, I hate saying word question right now, but it really is the age-old question as far as the ends do not justify the means in situations in my mind. And that's where these conversations get heady, because this is a comic you can sit with 10 people and have a book talk and really go off some different avenues of. I love books like this. This is why I wanted to do this one on the show, because I'm like, this is really a smart story. And we should really talk about this one because, oh my God, the tangents that you go on with this one, and rightfully so. And there's people listening to this that guys, you've missed 3 other things you should be talking about right now. This is that kind of story.
Oh God, yeah. And again, this conversation between, Emil and Bat is, again, this is really, again, Emil does a brilliant job of keeping the Bat on the hook.
Yeah.
But this is one of those conversations where Bruce is starting to question stuff, where Bruce is starting to say, hey, what's actually going on here? Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that he ends it with, give me unfettered access or I walk.
Yeah.
Either Bruce has 100% access to everything or he's leaving. And he's not, and we both know he's not going to leave. He's just going to be off the books investigating this place and he's going to take it down. So Emil has to give him that unfettered access. He's got to trust on his level of what he did to hide everything.
If Batman quote unquote leaves, Batman's coming back in scorched earth again. It's a whole different ball game. It's all rules are off, and it's going to lead to red flags. I do like as the question starts to now use the gas pellets. I love the thing. You don't want to know where I left the gas pellets in the mask. I do put that on his face.
Yeah, dude. I'm like, oh, it's because we know where he hid that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just no. Yeah. You know what? If you were to ask me, Sean, do you have a line? Yep, that.
This is another reason why I would always. I'm not a question. No, I'll pass.
Yes.
Hard pass on.
Yes.
You get to pick one superhero. Hard pass on the question just for that one panel.
Wait, I'm the answer. I have lots of answers. No is my answer. I'm not very useful, but at least I have answers.
Yep.
I do love that we get to see some of his combat skills, his more advanced martial arts skills and things like that when he knocks the guy out and things like that. I'm seeing that there's more to the question. This is a good story. That's a great primer. That's what I love about this one as a Black Label series. Organically, you get to know who these characters are. I would hand this to anybody. Two of my friends who I mentioned earlier who I would hand this story to don't know who the Question is. And I feel like this is a great book to say, and it's got this cool character called the Question in it that you're just going to discover who he is along the way on this journey. I would hand this to somebody who is never, read a Green Arrow story or never read a Batman story for that matter. I think it's got all the elements of all of those pieces in there. This is very accessible.
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And
definitely. And
this would make a good movie.
Oh, dude, this 100% would make a great and again, there's so many of these books that you're like, this would be a good movie. This would be a good movie, and they could either go with these characters or modify and go with different people. This could be, a whole different universe.
DC animated, like after they're done with this Nightfall thing, do this.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'd love to see this DC animated.
Yeah.
100%.
Because I don't think we'll see it on the big screen, with live action.
No.
I just feel like they're trying to get a new. We're trying to get Batman 2, and in that process, it seems like there is no real traction yet on a new Batman movie.
Yeah.
Timing wise, in our lifetime, we're not going to be ready for this as a live action movie. But you can put this on the animated slate and make that happen. And man, I'm hoping these animated movies continue for that purpose because it's scratching an itch for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are I think DC's animated universe seems to be doing stronger than their live action universe.
I think though what we're seeing, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish what you're finishing.
Well, and I don't know which one is more profitable for them. Because again, this is a business in the end. Mm-hmm. So if they're not making money off of it, then they're not going to continue it. Because one of the things that like toy sales, mm-hmm. Stuff like that drives movies. If there's not a good associated toys that come along with a movie, or those sales don't do well, we don't get another movie. And that's one of the things, like, because recently I was in a toy store, and I was driving down the street, saw this toy store that I'd never seen before. So I pulled in and was walking through it, and I was walking up and down the aisles, just taking my time, and I noticed there was almost like 10 times Marvel to DC on the toy side. Easily. There's I saw multiple rows of Marvel toys and one row that was DC toys. I was like, man, that was something that really hit me, going, DC, what the heck's up?
Where were you at when you saw that?
It's a store. It's this toy store that's over in Strongsville.
So we went to Crocker Park and Toys R Us that was there. And there was a whole shelf devoted to DC, maybe two shelves devoted to, when I say shelves, I'm sorry, 2 rows devoted to Marvel, 1 row devoted to DC. I think with the establishment of the MCU, that's pretty normal. And you could make a strong argument for that. There's toys for that Sonic the Hedgehog DC crossover, wherein there's 2 packs.
Yeah.
There are the Sonic characters partnered up with a DC character in the same pack. The Sonic character is dressed in that character's outfit scheme. So there's the Flash and Sonic, it's Sonic in a Flash outfit. I got to be honest with you. I was about ready to pick up some of those and may likely do it. I don't know I'm going to get the whole series, but they looked pretty darn cool. There was a Superman movie character. I didn't see a Supergirl one. These Toys R Us are mini toys. It was like a smaller toy store. It was super cool to see our Toys R Us though, and it was filled with all kinds of toys. It was great to see comic books so represented there. We're always going to go with this though, beyond toys, because that we tend to look at those. There was a lot of promotional partnerships with Supergirl. I would be very curious to see how many of those wound up being lucrative on some level. Whereas did this movie generate funding beyond the film itself and awareness? Here's why comic book universes like this need to be on the big screen. It's brand awareness, right? Whether you've seen the movie or not, you saw the trailers, you saw live action, you saw Superman up there. Superman, did well. Could it have done better than they were expecting? I think we can all agree with that, but that's the problem right now. A lot of the superhero movies, MCU, same thing, are having this problem right now. We've gotten a little crabby. Also, though, take superhero movies out of it. There are movies that are not doing well, that are summer blockbusters, that are meant to be summer popcorn flicks, that are tanking. Just tanking. I don't think Hollywood has figured out yet how to deal with the post-COVID streaming environment and what that all looks like. I am a big movie-going fan. I love going to the theater. I'm very, very frustrated that I don't know how Hollywood figures out what the tentpole movie that's going to do well is going to be, because there are ones that tank. That 2 weeks earlier, another film did gangbusters that would fall in the same realm, right? So I don't know how Hollywood bobs and weaves from that. Let's use Disney as a company just as an example. Disney will have a hit one month. The next month, a similar kind of movie, that scratches a similar itch, completely bombs for them. And some of it is the internet buzz. Some movies are doomed before they even hit the theater. And I'm not talking superhero movies right now. Take any of the big companies out of, they're all big companies, but I'm saying, take like your Marvel and, Disney, classic Disney movies and stuff like that out of it. There's other movies, Masters of the Universe. Great example for Masters of the Universe. That's a known brand. And that movie didn't do as well as it should have based on brand popularity, right? There should be an audience that grew up with that went to go see it initially. And then if it wasn't a great movie, I'm hearing a very mixed audience reaction. I haven't seen it yet. Everyone I've talked to liked it. I've seen a few people who I respect that it wasn't their cup of tea. So I see that being the case. I want to see it based on what I'm hearing about it from people who have been crabby, who have said, oh, this is a good movie. It was fun. I actually heard it compared to Flash Gordon, the 80s Flash Gordon. So when you compare that to the pulpy Flash Gordon and say like, okay, that's more of the tried and true. I liked 80s Flash Gordon and I loved pulpy Flash Gordon before that because I remember seeing remember the Ground Round, seeing the old. So I had seen the old Flash Gordon before the 80s Flash Gordon at Ground Round. And Ground Round was a restaurant near us. I don't know how far that chain extended, so I'm going to explain it real quick. It was kind of like being at a movie theater. They would put peanuts on the table, and you would plop open the shelves and literally throw them on the floor. I mean, it was like designed to be that. If you weren't crunching when you were walking into the place, you weren't at a Ground Round. And what they would run on the screen, and they'd have some light music playing, is soundless versions of old movie serials, of old, Flash Gordon, Batman, things like that. I remember seeing that. I saw the Batman serials for the first time. You never got the audio. It was always the dialogue, the captions that were over there. But I loved the serials. I didn't know they were a thing. That was my first exposure to comic-related serials. Flash Gordon in particular was, I fell in love with Flash Gordon. And if you were lucky, you got some form of continuing story with Flash Gordon. Where like you go back to Ground Round and like maybe it was 2 or 3 chapters down the road or a chapter that you missed before. And you started to kind of puzzle back in like, okay, here's what's happening here and who these people actually are. But I heard Masters of the Universe was very much like that piece from a couple of people. I don't know how true that is because I haven't seen it myself yet. I'm going to, just based on that. Or a long-winded way of me saying, I think right now as a society, we have got to stop prejudging things we haven't seen. And dismissing it because of, I don't like this actor's stance on this. I don't like this person's stance on that. Movies are put together by so many people. It's okay if you don't like this person's political views. You think this person's an idiot. Give the movie a chance. Or if not, shut up and stay away from it. If you're like, this is not for me, then just say, this is not for me and walk away. There are people that are presenting themselves as experts on things that they've never even seen and trashing things before they've come out. So unfair to something that could actually have an audience out there that may not be you. And here's the thing I'm well aware, there's a lot of movies that come out that I don't go see because I've got so many that I want to see. They're further down my list. I love movies, and there's very few movies that I won't actually watch. But there's certainly ones that are like high on my list of these are must-see movies. There's too many of those. That's why I never bother getting to ones that would make me crappy. Yep. I feel bad if your list is so small right now that like you're going to movies you don't like, or you're watching trailers for movies that you have zero interest in and you feel like, I need to comment on this now. Why do you need to do that? You have nothing you're excited about right now? Spider-Man is a great example of that. I'm super stoked for Spider-Man. I think that one's early tracking to just blow it out of the water. So my question's going to come back to, why didn't Supergirl do better out of the gate? There's this audience out there that likes superhero movies. Why didn't people give that a chance at the start? I understand if it would have had drop-off. That wasn't its problem. It did not have people out of the gate there.
Right.
It's Supergirl. Now, granted, it's not Superman, so let's talk about that. This is now another tier. I am very concerned about these second-tier characters not being able to generate movies. I want choice. I love Spider-Man. The Tom Holland one. I am so stoked for that movie.
Yeah.
I just think it's been perfect casting. I want to see more of that continuing ongoing story. But I love the variety of B-tier characters being put into the theater, being able to see them live action. It increases brand awareness. So I guess what I'd love to know more about Supergirl is, okay, we know box office wise, less than stellar, right? It did not do well box office wise. Let's just flat out say it. Did any of these partnerships pay off in some lucrative way for it? Did any brand awareness, barring toys, did anything else like generate where like, this is more worth it than people realize? I'd love to know that information.
Yeah.
And if anybody has any of that, send it in. Like, I'd love to know more, or post it in our Facebook group or whatever. I'd love to know more about what that actually looks like. Like, was there some form of other level of profit to this that I just don't understand? Because I would like to believe that those movies are doing something beyond what we actually see. Superman, certainly the brand awareness came out of Superman. Certainly came out of there. And Crypto. Crypto is Crypto's Grogu to a certain extent, maybe a lighter version of Grogu, as far as, the Mandalorian type of piece. But I feel like Crypto was like a buzz that came out of it, which is why I'm so sad that Supergirl, people didn't get to see all those cool Crypto moments in that. I don't know. Interesting side tangent. It all came out of the fact that we'd like to see this in some form of media format.
Yes.
I don't think we'll ever see it live action because of everything we just ran on about in that tangent. So that's why animation is a thing. Fun to talk about our current state of movies, though. All right, back to Ollie waking up and, basically sitting there going, okay, no frostbite, which means Batman got him somewhere safe. And the problem is he's a prisoner now. So he's on the site, and I do love that Emil's trying to appeal to Ollie, his to a certain extent.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that makes me wonder how much of Emil, again, when did he start off? When did he become the bad guy? Did he initially start off as positive and got corrupted? Again, is this all part of a master manipulation on his part? Because, if he was always a bad guy, he wouldn't need Ollie Queen on board. But, if he had at one point in time been a good guy, and then got corrupted by the option, then maybe he would be reaching out to Ollie. But also part of this Ollie reach out is about getting Batman more calm and more in control, because Bat saved him. Bat told Rotha about, don't go after him, and Batman's been protecting Queen. So this could be a play, by Emil to get Batman back in control. I don't know. There's multiple levels of the string pulling here, and I like that.
This explanation, where he's basically sitting there saying it's forced labor. Ollie calling him out on it was great, because we start to see more about Rotha. and what's going on here. And Ollie being bold and brash at this point, I needed what that looked like. I also needed to see the resistance.
Yeah.
Like, I need to start knowing more about Ceres. And let's be clear, Ceres is not who they are. Ceres is who they've been branded as a smokescreen by Rotha. So at this point, Rotha's full-on bad guy to me. But it does go back to, does he ideologically believe that all of this is worth it? And I don't know that I'm not there yet as far as where he's really at, but that part is really awesome, as far as taking a look at that. The explosion and Ollie having to make the heroic choice of saving Rotha's life.
Yeah.
There was really, really good. This is Ollie Queen being the hero that he is. I think Vic would have saved him. I think Bruce would have saved him. I think it would have looked differently in all cases. But I loved Ollie's reaction, as far as this has caused a whole different problem in this scenario. Bruce, go ahead.
Well, and Ollie recognizes the retaliation that's coming.
Yes.
Ollie 100% knows there's going to be a retaliation. And even Bruce recognizes that immediately when he sees what happens. This is something that the heroes know, that when the bad guy, when you knock him down, if you don't take him out, there's going to be a fire back and there's going to be a blowback from this, and the resistance knew there would be blowback, but they're willing to take the risk to do the damage to try to stop them. It's one of those things where, like, everybody was in the wrong here. The good guys and the bad guys are both in the wrong in this situation. And I don't have a better solution, to be honest with you. As I'm looking at what the resistance are doing, I don't know if I could come up with they should have done X, Y, and Z instead of that. It's one of those neat things where, yes, this is wrong on their part. An assassination is not a good thing, but again, they're trying to kill the bad guy. Is that a bad thing? I love just the fact that, yes, we have a clear bad guys and good guys, but both are using the same kind of tactics. Again, it's that touch of gray in life that if you get a good, solid story that explains it.
Bruce is an interesting sort of wild card in all of this, because now we see him starting to ask questions. And what's interesting about this is, like, he is seeing the after effects of all of this, whereas front and center in the combat action right now is really much more Vic Sage and Ollie Queen, who have been in that place. Now, obviously Vic is front and center in this resistance movement at the moment, where he's attacked by Ceres, and Ceres thinks he might be a Juno person at first. He has to explain, hey, hang on a second here. I am not on their side. I'm a reporter. I'm investigating them. I love that they don't trust him right off the gate. Tie him up. Let's take him with us because they need more information. If Vic hadn't said that, Vic would have been dead.
Oh, definitely. They were just going to kill him and leave him.
Yeah.
Because again, it's that by saying, hey, I'm a journalist. I came here to find you. I can help. By him doing those simple words there, got them thinking, okay, we're not going to kill him yet. We'll bring him along. We'll probably kill him in the morning. Good job, Wesley. Thank you. I'll probably kill you tomorrow. That kind of deal is what she's thinking in her head right now. I do like the fact that, you do have, again, she's the good guys in this. She's resistance, but they're going to use the same tactics. And I loved seeing, just how much Juno was going through, and they're sweeping through the population. You will comply. The one guy gets shot simply because they got a wrench in their hand. Bam, shoot him. You're not going to go moving fast enough. Bam, shoot him. And they're getting all the people in compliance. You see them escorting all the people out, their hands on their heads and all that kind of stuff. So they're getting the people in line. But, again, that prime tactics of kill one or two people to get everybody else in line. This is traditional bad guys here, and I love seeing that. But I also do love seeing we've got our good guys in the resistance, basically who would have done the same thing, but they're not completely locked down on, I've got to kill this guy. They're able to look and say it may be worthwhile keeping him alive. That's what makes them the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Oliver and Bruce's debate is one of my favorite parts of this issue. It's very, 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 very rare that I'm team somebody else. We've had this happen with the Bat family before in certain circumstances where Bruce was just flat out wrong. This is an example of I'm team Ollie on this conversation. Admittedly, Ollie has more information that Bruce has because the Question's seen these pieces. Ollie's also been front and center with Rotha and had his own confrontations with him it that Bruce was not a part of. So in fairness, I'm team Ollie because Bruce has a lack of information right now. He's bringing it to him. And I love that, Bruce's answer right now, this is nails on the chalkboard. Poor labor practices does not justify assassination. Finding the assassin is my priority. And Ollie's comeback to that is, how can you be this naive? I loved that. I also love, though, and this is where the cracks are starting to show, Bruce freed Ollie.
Yeah.
If Bruce really was not listening, if Bruce really was not processing, he would not have freed Ollie. He freed Ollie. That was a pivotal moment in that debate that shows Bruce is starting to seriously question this. I loved it.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, I agree with you, everything you said there. And I love how it goes from this awesome moment to then a high action sequence with the Juno tracking down, the Resistance and Vic, and just, again, it's a more of that scramble tactics where they're running and diving and jumping through, sewerage and all that just to get away. But I love the fact that Juno, again, yes, they're the bad guys. Yes, they're evil. But I do like the fact that they do have a level of strategy here. They send the drones after them. Let them run away. Let's just follow them and make sure. I thought that for me was a great, again, you got to have villains that aren't just mindless idiots. And this is a villains who, they're killers, they're evil, they're bad guys. But I do love the fact that they're like, okay, we can think things through.
The attacks start happening on the Resistance as they're leaving. And I'm going to call them the Resistance still because their name, Saris, is not their name. It is the name they were branded on by Emil, who is using them as pawns in all of this. When Vic is helping keep them alive, I love that that's when they start to trust him more. He gets untied. I love that the escape was not clean. And I love that they recognized, wait a minute. We're doing this the hard way. Send the drone after them. Let's find out where they go. Let's not follow them. Let's get to the higher ground where we can make better use of the time. This was a brilliant villain's tactic. I love that we saw it coming. We knew something that our heroes didn't know as they were escaping. I love smart villains. And I sometimes you make the thugs seem so dumb that you're like, okay, what is even the point of them? This was smart. These are people with military grade skills that are acting as an appropriate squad, using the tools at their disposal to their advantage. I love seeing stuff like this. I think it's very smart writing and adds more intensity to the storytelling. Whereas, okay, great, we got away from the stupid looking thugs yet again.
Yes, I know, 100% agree with you. And I love the when that Bruce is tracking everything that's going on.
Yes.
And he's seeing them fire on unarmed individuals.
Yes.
And firing on the workers and this and that. He's seeing the brutality. And that's when he's like, okay, I'm on the wrong side here.
Yep. Yep. I
love that. I love those moments because it's tied in right as, the heroes are really down and out. They're about to get slaughtered. Green Arrow shows up first. Again, great usage of the entry of Green Arrow. But again, I love how our heroes, the Resistance, are scrambling, and they keep getting they don't have a clean body count here. We're losing good guys.
Yeah.
We're not losing any of the main names, but we are losing people. And again, you need to have that dirt and grime in a story like this.
I love when you got heroes who make mistakes. And I think what's heroic is it's not that you don't make mistakes, not that you're perfect or things like that. It's that you try to correct them along the way. When you're given new information and given new information and given new information, eventually at some point in time you go, something's not adding up. And there's been a lot of directions that something's not adding up has come at Batman, and I've loved seeing that in real time. This is just as interesting to me as this compelling stories where we try to get caught up with Batman. We were 2 steps ahead of Batman on this one, and I enjoy the different dynamic for us as a reader with Batman on this one. It's something that's really, really clever. I liked in a short period of time Saris made me care about these Resistance characters.
Yeah.
When they were getting shot, I'm like, these are people that are just like, this can't keep going on. Because you have to wonder, couldn't some of them have just escaped or tried to escape? They didn't. They're trying to put a dent in this. They're trying to put a stop to this because they know it's wrong. And there's a certain heroic nature to them as well that I start to care for very quickly. The situation that's going on with Emil, and Emil's still trying to manipulate what's going on here. It makes me wonder, how much does Emil really believe this? Because I'm wondering if he really does. Especially, he knows that Batman's Bruce, so the cat's out of the bag. That and he tries to use that as an appeal. Listen, you do your job, let Billings do his. I really thought you would understand we're all on the same team, Bruce. And dropping that nugget and using it, like, how long has he known? And he waited to drop that until it was most advantageous to him.
In this sequence, when he's lying in the hospital bed, this really does show he's been a bad guy all along. Because all the stuff, all the shooting on the civilians, shooting on non-combatants, on the workers, shows that, Billings is following his orders.
Yes.
So the slaughter of these innocent people, throw out, they're going after the Resistance.
Yeah.
But just the everyday worker who's already, slave labor, they're already human trafficked, in, forced labor, they're shooting on them now just because they're not moving fast enough. That right there shows the level of evil. And I love the fact that, this sequence here does show he's been a bad guy. He is the bad guy. And I love that.
The debate with the Resistance and Ollie, where Ollie's like, listen, how are you going to keep fighting back? You don't have any weapons and things like that. Is this, he's like, this is hopeless. And really, that's the funny part. Ollie's willing to put himself in danger. The Question's willing to put himself in danger. But I love that Ollie's sitting here saying, when it comes to others and putting them at danger, he's drawing a line in the sand. I really liked that. There's something heroic about that, too, being I'm willing to, she's like, that didn't stop you. And I love that Batman goes, here. And he's got Ollie's quiver and bow. He's basically answering the question, I'll help you.
This time. Yeah.
Yeah. It was a great ending at this point. Halfway point of this series, now Batman's on board. And we're developing a much larger Resistance. Batman has now fully, and there's no other way to say it, Batman switched sides based on information that he has right now. And I just love that ending. The good part, when you flip to the back cover, the quote of "my patience is running out," I do love that about Black Label books. I always loved it about the great prestige Elseworld stories, where they've got quotes from inside the story and a little scene from inside the story that bookends the front cover. I just think that's always really good. They had a great one for the first issue, great one for the second issue that really is appropriate when you close the cover. The man's patience clearly ran out at the end, and I loved that. This is a gripping story. And, I've read issues 1 and 2 now multiple times. I read it in my first read through, and that gave me the, brainchild of like, oh, we should talk about this. This is kind of cool. And, reading it again another 2 times for this conversation, it has made me think about this story completely differently and scold Batman more than I probably have in a story in a long time. And that's fun. That's really, really fun. By the way, at the end of this issue, I am all team Batman. All he has to do is bring an arrow and a quiver and hand it off to somebody. And I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry I yelled at you. It's great to see you. Where are we going, Bruce?
Okay. We now have all 3 of the heroes on the same page now. Let's take them down.
Yes.
Oh, no, you don't.
RagingBullets.com is our show website, and we feed into Twitter/X and our Facebook fan page. These are ways to find out about brand new episodes coming on the show, when they're going to be released, any updates about the podcast along the way. We try to keep in communication with you through those channels. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community, and actually during San Diego Comic-Con and beyond, that team over there is just doing a great job of posting things that are relevant to you, and I just appreciate everybody that posts there, things that they're seeing throughout DC Comics and related pop culture that are of interest. People will post blog posts and things like that as well, shout out podcasts, and please, that's meant to be a community playground, and I love the fact that people feel very comfortable posting anything that they feel is relevant to our community there. I love that aspect of it. RagingBullets@gmail.com is our email address, and you can send us emails, you can send us audio comments. We love having you part of the show. Feel free to do commentary there. Over the Facebook group community, I post every episode on our Facebook group community for the purpose of letting it be a talkback. If there's something you want to correct, something you want to expand on, your own thoughts and ideas, and you don't necessarily want to put them on the show, you can throw them in that community and chat over there as well. A lot of times people have course corrected us or clarified things from that channel, and we really appreciate that as well. The About Us section, our show website, where you can connect with us on personal social media and gaming platforms. Bi-weekly, you can hear me on Is It Jaws? Host Paul Spataro and I are joined by usually a wonderful cast of characters and people who come on as guests to discuss film reviews using the Jaws 1 through 4 scale. And I love film just as much as I love comics. So please check us out on Is It Jaws if you have not. There's links in the show notes to that podcast as well. Mr. Segulin, we are sponsored as always by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Can you tell us what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have Batman Bad Seed, Gotham Central, issue 1 of 2, 38% off, only $3.09. We have Batman Superman, Weird Al World's Weirdest One Shot. Try saying that 10 times
Easy
fast.
for you to say.
38% off, only $3.71. We have Batman Golden Age Omnibus Volume 4 hardcover, 38%, $62. And Batman Silver Age Omnibus hardcover Volume 2, 48% off, only $52. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, as I mentioned earlier, DC Finest, Suicide Squad, The Nightshade Odyssey. 592 pages, $39.99, regularly 48% off, only $20.79. And I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for supporting our podcast and so many other ones. They're great companies. Please consider checking them out. Our next episode, Jim and I are going to be back and talking about part 2 of Arcadia. So we will see you then.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't
What
mean
are you
anything
trying
by
to say?
that.
I think
Sean,
you did it right
Jim,
there.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's